What's up, guys? In today's video, we are going to be talking about easy or good side hustles for police, fire, EMS, really anybody working in public safety. Now, this is a question I get a lot from a lot of you out there asking, hey, my schedule's going to be 24 on, 48 off. Maybe it's going to be California swing. Maybe it's 4896. What am I going to do in my off time? What would be a good side job or side business to start? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be breaking down different side hustles or side jobs that you can get started with as a firefighter, EMT, whatever it is that you do. And all of these are going to be ones that I either have personal experience with, I have done these jobs or started these small businesses, or I know somebody that works in fire or EMS that does this on the side. Now, what I'm going to be doing is going over the positives and the negatives and some of the upsides and downsides of both so that you can make your decision for yourself. And I'm also going to be putting in helpful links throughout this video of places that you can go to find out more about that particular side job or side hustle if that's something that you're into. Let's get started. So the first one I want to talk about might be a little unorthodox as far as typical firefighter side jobs. But this is something that I have done for years and something that I still currently do. I own a small group of websites that make money regularly, very passively on the side. Some people call them niche sites, some people call them blogs, whatever it is that you want to call them. That's an easy way to make money on the side. Now, what are some of the benefits of this and some of the downsides? Now, some of the benefits of this are that you are very, very flexible with your schedule, with your timing. You can kind of do it on your own time. There's not a required time. You don't have to show up at 9 a.m. and leave at 5 p.m. You're not stuck in an office for 8 hours a day. You find something that you're interested in. There's ways to analyze different types of competition out there. And then you start writing about things that you're interested in. Then you put ads on the site, and naturally you make money off of the ad revenue. Now, this is something that a lot of people out there talk about quite a bit, and there's a lot of spammy, dishonest people out there that will try and promise you the world but not give you very much. I've been a member of an organization or a group online called Income School for a long time. These guys do an awesome job. They're very professional. They're not salesy. They're not spammy. They're not sleazy. They give you the tools necessary to start from nothing and build this little side business on the side. I've been a member for, I think, 2 or 3 years now. I don't remember exactly what it was. There was a small startup cost initially, but this is something I highly recommend to a lot of firefighters, especially if you're busy with your day-to-day life. Maybe you have a wife or a husband and kids, and you don't necessarily have the time or the energy to go get a full part-time job. This is something you can do from the comfort of your own home. Now, what are the downsides of this? Now, some of the downsides of this is, depending on what you do, there might be a small upfront investment, but also depending on whatever it is that you decide that you want to get into. Maybe you're just trying to do it to make a couple bucks on the side. It can be kind of boring if you don't really like reading or writing quite a bit. If you don't really like researching products and different things like that, it can get really boring. But all in all, the upside of this is you have essentially unlimited income potential, but as well as that, you also have a lot of flexibility in the time to decide whatever that it is that you want to do with your free time. Now, I will leave the link to Income School below. I'll leave it in the description if that's something you're interested in checking out. You can go check them out. Now, the next one is one that I have personally done, and I know a lot of firefighters that do this as well, is real estate. Now, there's a lot of different aspects of real estate that you might not think about. We'll start with the first and most obvious one. The first and most obvious one is be a real estate agent, work on the sales side of things, help buyers and sellers sell their homes, and put people into homes, the whole process. Everybody knows essentially what a real estate agent is. Another popular one is real estate investing. Now, there's a whole bunch of different ways to invest in real estate, whether it be through wholesaling, flipping, long-term rentals. You can do residential, you can do commercial, you can do storage units. I mean, there's an infinite number of ways to invest in real estate, but that's another popular thing. I am a real estate investor. I know a lot of other people that work in fire and EMS that are also current or used to do a lot of real estate investing. It's a very popular way for people to make money on the side. Another popular way for firefighters and EMS to make money on the side in real estate is to do a home inspection business. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what that is, the general gist of home inspection is when someone buys a home, they'll usually hire a professional inspector to come in, look over the house, make sure there's no major issues or problems. It will require some sort of certification in most states, but again, the barrier to entry is relatively low. And if you're a firefighter, especially if you're a firefighter, you should have at least a base knowledge and understanding of building construction and the layout and finding problems. So that's a relatively easy way to get started in real estate investing, start getting to know people, and start working in the real estate world. So what are some of the positives? Low barrier to entry. It's very easy to get a real estate license. It's very easy to get a home inspecting license and go from there. There's also unlimited opportunity. There's essentially no limit to the amount of money that you can make as a real estate investor, a real estate agent, or really a home inspector. I mean, you can turn this into your own business. Now, some of the downsides is that it is much more difficult than people realize to start getting clients and start building that up to the point where it's a decent side income, but it's certainly something that's doable. The other downside is because you are essentially a 1099 contractor, it can be unreliable income. It can fluctuate depending on what's going on with the market. At the time of making this video, the real estate market is still booming, and so there's a lot of opportunity for people out there that want to do that. Overall, the potential flexibility is great, and there is unlimited financial potential if this is something that you want to get into, but just know that the startup can be a little more difficult than you might realize, and certainly more than what a lot of people on the internet will tell you. Now, the next one is also a very, very popular one, and this is especially popular if you work in EMS or if you work for a fire department where you're required to have an EMT or paramedic license. For example, where I work, everybody is required to be a paramedic, so this is an easy one. Now, if you are just a firefighter and you don't have your EMT or paramedic license, you can go to school and get that. Typically, it depends on your state how long your EMT or paramedic certification will take. I have a link to at least a lot of the EMT and paramedic schools in the country. I'll leave it in the description down below. If that's something you want to check out, the website is Firefighter Now, and you can go there and find your state and find a local school if this is something you wanted to do. But a lot of firefighters and EMS work as a side job, on their off days, continuing to work as a paramedic or an EMT. Now, you can do that as a transport medic for a private ambulance company. You could work in a hospital. You can work as event medicine. That's another popular one. A lot of companies will just hire paramedics and EMTs to come in for big events, sports games, concerts, things like that. You show up, you stay there for the duration of the game and the concert, make sure nobody gets hurt, and if they do, you usually hand it off to whoever the primary EMS is, and then you go about your day. What are some of the benefits? Typically, it's an easy job. It's a short learning curve, meaning that you already have experience doing this in your day job. So it's not going to be a big transition to go from working as an EMT and a firefighter in your day job to doing this on the side in a hospital or whatever. Places are always hiring. There are always events going on. The turnover in private ambulance companies is pretty high. Hospitals, a lot of times, again, emergency rooms, the turnover can be fairly high. So it's easy to get in. And then the flexibility in your schedule is typically pretty good. Most hospitals that hire paramedics and most private ambulance companies know that a lot of people that do this on the side also have a firefighting job, and they already understand how the rotation works, the 24/48 and so on. So they'll be more flexible with you. They understand that there's certain days you can't come into work. And then a lot of the schedules with EMS is you can do it PRN based, which just means essentially you might have to work 1 or 2 days a month. They might have a minimum requirement. You can do it part-time. You can do it full-time. You can really do it however you want to do it. Now, some of the downsides is the pay is typically very, very low, especially in certain states. I think where I work, a private ambulance paramedic makes about $15 or $16 an hour. An EMT makes about $11 to $12 an hour. That is not very much. And again, you're selling your time for that low hourly rate. The other thing is this can contribute to burnout. If you deal with patients and doing EMS stuff all day, every day at your full-time job, your firefighting job or your EMS job, working 24/48, sometimes the last thing you want to do is go work on a private ambulance or go work in an ER where you're going to go back and do the exact same thing again. You're just doing the same thing again and again and again and again, and it can get very repetitive and burn you out. So overall, the flexibility is usually pretty good. Again, you're still going to have to work shifts, 7-8 hours, but usually they'll work with you on that, and the money might not be there, but it's an easy in. It's something you can get started with almost immediately. Now, another popular one with a lot of firefighters in EMS is doing some sort of trade or handyman service. I personally work with a lot of guys who have a lot of trade experience, whether it be carpenters, plumbers, electricians, just general handyman work. And so they do that as a side hustle. On their days off, they work as contractors or they work with other people that are contractors and they just get sent job to job. And they do different things, flooring, electrical work, carpentry, whatever it is that they're doing. Now, something like this, the pay can be awesome. There is a potential for a ton of money for you to make in the trades, especially if you're your own contractor and you can find your own clients, and this is something you want to build up on your own on the side. It also can be flexible in your scheduling, especially if you're working for yourself. You can obviously tell clients, hey, on these days, I'm not going to be in because I'm going to be at my firefighting job, but on my days off, I can come in and I can work on whatever it is that you're working on. Now, what are some of the negatives? This is hard work. Firefighting is hard work as well, and over time it will beat you up. Depending on what you're doing in your trades work, in your handyman business, again, that could be very physically exhausting. For example, roofing is a popular one. Roofing is a very, very difficult job. Those guys work very hard, and it beats you up over time. Same thing with masonry. There's a handful of other trades out there that can really be tough on your body over time. So doing this on the side in addition to your firefighting job can really take its toll on you over time. Also, there is some effort required in getting started, finding clients. But again, if you're good at what you do, there is a huge demand for people in the trades right now. There's a huge demand for contractors. There's a huge demand for people that know how to do things, build things, fix things. And you will always have work if you're good. But it's going to be a little bit of an upstart trying to find clients at first. The next one that's a very, very popular one is a CPR instructor and or a fire instructor. Again, most fire departments are going to require that their firefighters are at least CPR certified, even if they're not EMTs or paramedics. And obviously, if you're an EMT or paramedic, you already know how to do this. And if you already are a firefighter, look into being a fire instructor at your local fire academy. I don't want to say that they're always looking for people, but firefighting is a very small community. And if you want to go out and get your fire instructor certification, it's certainly something you can do. Now, there are CPR instructor certifications that come through the American Heart Association as well as fire instructor, depending on wherever your state is. There might be a small cost associated with that, some classes, some certifications that you'll need. But again, this is something you already do and something you already know, so it shouldn't be that difficult for you to get these certifications. Now, again, the positives is this is an easy transition. This is already what you do in your day job, so it shouldn't be difficult for you to move into it. There's plenty of opportunity here, especially if you start your own little CPR instructor side business. A lot of places require that the people that work there are CPR certified. A lot of gyms require it for their trainers and staff. A lot of daycares require it for a lot of their daycare workers, just in case, God forbid, something happened to a child. They know what to do. They know how to do CPR until EMS arrives. Also, it's flexible with the scheduling. Again, if you're a fire instructor, everybody that works there is a firefighter generally. So they understand how your schedule works. They understand that there's going to be days that you can be available and days that you cannot. And they will typically work with you with that type of stuff. Now, some of the negatives is depending on where you are, especially if you're a CPR instructor for a larger organization, the pay can be relatively low. Again, it's the same sort of thing here. You're going to be selling your time to go do that. It's a little bit different if you are starting your own little CPR certification company. I work with a few guys that do this on the side, and I work with some guys that are fire instructors as well. But again, another negative is over time, this can burn you out. If you're constantly doing EMS and you're constantly doing firefighting, sometime when you get away from your day job, you just want to do something totally unrelated and not think about firefighting and EMS except for when you're working. And that's totally understandable, but for a lot of people, this can contribute to burnout as well. Now, another one that is a little, I don't want to say unorthodox, but a lot of people don't really think about this, is being a truck driver. Now, there's a lot of different ways to do this. Let's just get into the basics of it. So if you want, you can go get your CDL, commercial driver's license. And for many firefighters in the country, it is not required for you to have a CDL for you to drive these massive ladder trucks, fire trucks, ambulances, and other vehicles that we drive day to day. Now, a CDL certification will take you a little bit. There is some schooling that goes along with this. There is a small upfront cost, but once you have your CDL, essentially the sky could potentially be the limit for you. You could either buy your own truck or you could go work for an organization that hires CDL drivers. Now, what are some of the positives of this? This is potentially very flexible. If this is something that if you have the money or you want to invest in your own truck, you can kind of pick and choose what jobs you want to work on. There's unlimited potential for this. Again, especially if you want to invest the money to buy your own truck, there's unlimited money to be made. There's always contracts that you can get into. There's always jobs that will require people that know how to drive trucks and can do this from day to day. And depending on I don't want to say that if you buy your own truck, it's going to be a relatively easy startup, but there are a lot of people that look to hire people constantly with CDLs. Now, some of the negatives of this is the pay can be low at first, especially if you're working for someone else. Again, that's relative depending on where you live and work, but it also will require some upfront money for you to go get your CDL license. Now, there are different tiers within the CDL that you can get and different other certifications you can get within that, but that's a different video for a different time. I do not have my CDL, but I work with guys that do own trucks and that do drive trucks, and they've told me quite a bit about it, and it can be very lucrative. Another one that is very popular out there, especially right now in today's day and age with the internet and everything that's going on with shutdowns and people working more remotely, is just general freelance work. This can come in a variety of forms. I know people that do video editing. I know people that are virtual assistants that do basic stuff for scheduling and for just a variety of different digital services that you can do. Now, the upside, well, I should say it can be an upside or a downside. This is going to require some sort of knowledge or skill for you to already have before you go do this. Obviously, you don't want to go be charging somebody to go do work for them when you don't even know what you're doing in the first place. But a lot of the knowledge and skills that's required to do freelance work is for free on YouTube. You can go learn a skill, go find something you're interested in. There's a bunch of different websites out there to go learn a variety of different skills. Udemy is one that comes to mind. There's a handful of others that you can go learn different types of digital skills. A lot of these courses and information is free, so if it's something you want to do, you can go find it. Another positive is it is a very low barrier to entry. There are websites like Fiverr.com, Upwork.com, and a whole bunch of other freelance websites where you can make a little profile, essentially hang your shingle out there, say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I do, and begin getting clients and making money. Very flexible scheduling. Obviously, if you're freelancing, this is something that you can do on your own time when it's convenient for you. You can kind of stem the flow of how many clients you're taking on at a time, how much work you're doing at a time, and you can kind of charge your own prices. Again, there's unlimited growth and opportunity. What you want to put into it is really what you can get back out of it. The only downside really to this is it will take some time to build up your business. A lot of people sell this on the internet as though just sign up for this thing and all of a sudden you're going to be making thousands of dollars a week and you'll make all sorts of money. That's not how it actually goes in the real world. I have done some freelance work and a variety of different things in the past. It will take you a little bit of time to build up some credibility, some customers, getting repeat customers, but there's a lot of tools and information out there if this is something that you want to get into. Another one, this is one that I did myself as well, as either working as a personal trainer or a coach. Now, this is an easy transition for a lot of firefighters. A lot of firefighters have sports in their background, whether it be organized sports, or maybe you did CrossFit, or maybe you did MMA or something like that. So working as a personal trainer or a coach in whatever that particular sport is a pretty natural and easy transition. It's also very flexible. Again, most people understand that you're working as a firefighter, so certain days you'll be available, certain days you won't. And there's usually a pretty low barrier to entry. When I stopped playing soccer, this is something that I did for a while before I got into firefighting. I worked as a trainer on the side, and I would train soccer players that were either ranging in ages, either from kids all the way up to college and professional soccer players, and I would help them get ready for their season or work on whatever. It's something that there's a lot of need for, and it's pretty easy to get into, especially if you have this knowledge or background. Now, as far as personal training, depending on where you are, there may be some sort of certification that's required for you to go out and work with clients and build up a client base. I don't know a lot about that. I never went and got those particular certifications, but I know it's something that's very doable and it's something that's out there. And then finally, the last one, and again, this is something that I have personal experience with, this is something that I have done, is working as a bartender or a bouncer at a bar. Now, what are some of the upsides to this? The potential for money can be pretty good, especially if you're working at a place that's pretty busy and people tip quite a bit. Some bartenders make a pretty good amount of money considering what they do, and a lot of it can be in cash and tips and so on. Working as a bouncer, maybe not as much. You'll still make some money, but again, typically you're not getting tipped as a bouncer, so the money will typically be a little bit lower. Typically, they're going to be flexible, obviously, with bartending and nightlife in general. That usually happens on the weekend, so you might have to work things out with your firefighting schedule. Obviously, your firefighting job comes first. So most of the time, if you're good and you explain to them and you're upfront with them what you're getting yourself into, or what they're getting themselves into with hiring you as a bouncer or as a bartender, they know that there's going to be certain days that you're just not going to be available. So what are some of the downsides with this? The biggest downside, you're dealing with drunk people all the time, and that gets extremely old extremely fast. I used to work as a bouncer for a while, and it got really old really quick, constantly dealing with drunk people being obnoxious, people being belligerent. It got old really quick. Me personally, I would not do that again. I kind of got burned out with that really fast, but some people don't really mind it. Another thing is, if you're working as a firefighter, sleep is a premium for you, and working in the nightlife industry, you are going to be required to be up late many nights. So if you're young and you don't really have a family and that's not really something that you really worry about right now, it might be a good fit for you, but otherwise it might not be a good fit for you. So as always, I hope you found this useful and helpful. If you did, give this video a thumbs up, consider subscribing to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next video.